The Lord shall preserve thy going out, and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. I want you to sit with that promise for a moment before we go anywhere else this morning, because most of your life happens in those two words. Going out, coming in. You go out of your house and into traffic. You go out of your comfort zone and into a hard conversation. You go out of one season and into another you didn't ask for. And then you come in, back home, back to safety, back to rest, back to the people who are waiting for you. Every single day of your life is made up of thresholds like this. And this morning, I want to declare over you that every single threshold, every going and every coming, is covered by the hand of God. This promise comes from Psalm 121, a song the ancient people of God sang as they traveled toward Jerusalem to worship. It begins with the decision, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. Before we ever get to the going out and coming in, the psalmist makes it clear where his confidence is rooted. Not in his own ability to navigate the road safely, not in the strength of his traveling companions, in the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And I want that same foundation under you this morning, because you cannot walk confidently through your going out and your coming in today if you don't first know where your help is actually coming from. Say it with me. My help cometh from the Lord, not from my own planning, not from my own strength, not from the people around me who might let me down. From the Lord, who made heaven and earth, who has authority over every road I travel and every door I walk through today. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Before your going out even begins, before you take a single step out of your house this morning, God has already made a decision about your foot. He will not allow it to be moved, not stumbled occasionally. That happens to everyone, but permanently displaced, permanently derailed, permanently knocked off the path he has set for you. And the reason he can make that promise is because your keeper does not slumber. While you were sleeping last night, preparing for whatever today would require of you, he was already awake, already watching, already positioning himself to walk with you through every going out and every coming in you would face today. I want to speak to the exhaustion some of you feel about this idea of constant vigilance. Maybe you feel like you have to watch your own back every time you leave the house, every time you send your kids out the door, every time you walk into a room full of people who might judge you or hurt you. I want to release you from that exhausting weight this morning. You do not have to be the one keeping watch over every single going out. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. That means while you go about your day, focused on your work, your conversations, your responsibilities, he is doing the watching you don't have the capacity to do yourself. You can actually let your guard down in the way that matters, trusting that his guard is never down. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. This widens the promise beyond just you as an individual. Israel here represents the whole community, the whole household of faith, everyone connected to you, your family, your children, the people you love and worry about when they are out of your sight. I know some of you are parents who lie awake wondering if your children are safe wherever they are tonight. I know some of you have loved ones traveling right now, and every time they go out that door, a small fear rises in you about whether they'll make it back in one piece. This morning, I speak peace over that fear. He that keepeth Israel, meaning he that keeps the whole company of people you love, does not sleep either. Your children's going out is covered. Your spouse's going out is covered. Your parents' going out, wherever they are in their own lives right now, is covered too. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. I want you to notice how personal this becomes. Not the Lord is a keeper, somewhere out there, generally interested in humanity. The Lord is thy keeper. Yours specifically. And he is your shade at your right hand, meaning right beside you, right where the labor happens, right where the walking happens, right where you're going out and you're coming in actually take place. He is not shading you from a distance. He is positioned right next to you as you cross every threshold today. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. This covers every hour of your going out and coming in. Whatever you're walking into during the bright, obvious hours of the day, meetings, errands, conversations, work, is covered. And whatever you're walking into during the quieter, more hidden hours of the night, the anxious thoughts that come when it's dark and quiet, the fears that only seem to visit after the sun goes down, are covered too. There is no hour of your going out that falls outside this protection, and there is no hour of your coming in that falls outside it either. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Every going out you take today carries some level of exposure, some level of risk, whether it's physical risk on the road, emotional risk in a difficult relationship, or spiritual risk in an environment that isn't friendly to your faith. I declare over you this morning that all evil, not some evil, all evil connected to your going out today is being held back by the preserving hand of God. And your soul, the deepest part of who you are, is being preserved right along with your physical safety, so that whatever you encounter today does not just leave your body intact, but leaves your peace, your hope, your identity intact as well. And now we arrive at the verse that gives this whole prayer its shape this morning. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. I want to break this down piece by piece with you, because I believe there is something specific God wants to say to you about every category of going out and coming in you experience in your life. Let's start with the most literal meaning of going out. Every time you physically leave a place, your home, your car, your workplace, and step into somewhere new, that transition is covered. I speak protection over your commute today, over every mile you drive, or ride, or walk. I speak protection over every doorway you walk through, every building you enter, every parking lot you cross. The same God who parted seas and shut the mouths of lions is the same God assigned to watch over your ordinary, everyday movements, the ones that feel too small to pray about, but matter enough to him that he wrote a whole promise about them. And I speak protection over your literal coming in too. When you return home tonight, when you walk back through your own front door, I declare that door as a place of safety, a place where the presence of God meets you, a place where whatever happened out in the world today does not get to follow you inside and steal your peace. Your home is covered. Your return is covered. The transition from wherever you've been back into your place of rest is guarded by the same hand that guarded your going out this morning. But I don't want to stop at the literal meaning, because this promise is far too rich to leave there. Let's talk about going out in the sense of stepping into something new. Maybe today you are going out into a new job, a new relationship, a new season you've never walked through before. Going out into the unknown is one of the most vulnerable feelings a person can have, because you don't yet know the terrain, you don't yet know what to expect, and every part of you that likes control has to release it just to take the first step. I speak covering over every new beginning you're stepping into. Whatever door is opening for you right now, whatever fresh start you are walking into with more fear than confidence, God has already gone ahead of you to prepare the way. Your going out into the new is covered. And there is also a coming in that matches this, the coming in of closing a chapter, ending something, walking away from a season that has run its course. Maybe you're coming in from a relationship that ended. Maybe you're coming in from a job you just left. Maybe you're coming in from a version of yourself you're trying to leave behind. Endings can feel just as vulnerable as beginnings, sometimes even more so, because they carry grief. They carry the weight of what didn't work out the way you hoped. I declare covering over your coming in from every ending you're walking through right now. God does not just meet you at the start of new things. He meets you at the closing of old ones too, ready to receive whatever you're carrying back with you, ready to help you set it down if it's too heavy to keep holding. Let's talk about going out emotionally, because I think this is one of the most overlooked applications of this promise. Every time you open up to someone, every time you share something vulnerable, every time you take an emotional risk by trusting another person with your heart, that is a kind of going out too. It requires courage. It carries the possibility of rejection, of misunderstanding, of being hurt by the very openness that was supposed to bring you closer to someone. I speak protection over your emotional going out today. Wherever you take a risk to be vulnerable, wherever you choose to trust again after being hurt before, God is covering that step. He is guarding your heart even as you choose to open it. And there is a coming in that matches this too, the coming in of receiving love, receiving comfort, receiving care from someone else. For some of you, this is actually harder than the going out. It is easier to give than to receive, easier to be strong for others than to let someone be strong for you. I speak permission over you this morning to let love come in, to let comfort come in, to let people care for you without feeling like you have to earn it or immediately return the favor before you can accept it. You're coming in, receiving what others want to give you, is covered too, and there is no shame in letting that happen. Let's talk about going out spiritually, stepping out in faith to do something you sense God calling you toward, even when you don't have all the details worked out yet. Maybe He's calling you to start something, to say something, to forgive someone, to walk away from something familiar because you sense He has something better ahead. Stepping out in faith always feels like walking off solid ground into uncertain territory, and that is exactly why so many people never take the step at all. I declare over you this morning, your going out in faith is covered. Whatever God has been nudging you toward, whatever step of obedience has been sitting on your heart, you can take it, because the same God who is calling you forward is also the God preserving your going out as you move. And there is a coming in that matches this too, the coming in of returning to God after a season of distance, whether that distance was caused by doubt, by hurt, by simple busyness that crowded Him out of your daily life. If that's you this morning, if you feel like you've wandered far from where you used to walk with Him, I want you to know your coming in is covered too. There is no distance too far for this promise to reach. The prodigal son in the story Jesus told did not have to clean himself up before his father ran to meet him. Your coming in back to God today is met the same way, with open arms, not with a list of conditions you have to satisfy first. Let me pray over you now, specifically over every category of going out and coming in we've talked about so far. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for the promise that you preserve our going out and our coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. Lord, cover the literal movements of everyone listening today, their commutes, their errands, every doorway they walk through, every mile they travel. Let their going out this morning be safe, and let their coming in tonight bring them back to a place of true rest. Cover every new beginning they are stepping into right now, Lord. Whatever door has just opened, whatever season they are walking into without knowing exactly what to expect, go before them and prepare the way. And cover every ending they are walking through too, every relationship that closed, every job that ended, every chapter that didn't turn out the way they hoped. Meet them in that coming in with comfort, and help them release what they no longer need to carry. Cover their emotional going out, Lord, every act of vulnerability, every risk they take to open their heart to someone else. Protect them in that openness, and let it lead to connection rather than further hurt. And Lord, help them receive love just as freely as they give it. Let their coming in, the moments where others try to care for them, comfort them, support them, not be resisted out of pride or fear, but welcomed as a gift. Cover their spiritual going out too, Father. Wherever you have been calling them to step out in faith, give them courage to move, knowing you go before them and preserve every step. And for anyone who has wandered far from you, Lord, cover their coming in today. Let there be no shame attached to their return, only welcome, only grace, only the same open arms that met the prodigal son on his way home. I want to keep going this morning, because there are more layers to this promise, and I don't want you to walk away with only a partial understanding of what God is covering when He says He preserves your going out and your coming in. Let's talk about going out into conflict. Some of you have a hard conversation waiting for you today, a confrontation you've been avoiding, a disagreement that needs to be addressed even though every part of you would rather ignore it and hope it resolves itself. I want you to know that God does not abandon you at the threshold of difficult conversations. He does not only cover the easy parts of your day and leave you exposed the moment things get tense. Your going out into conflict is covered. I pray for wisdom over your words, for restraint over your tone, for courage where you need to speak the truth and gentleness where you need to soften it. Whatever conversation is ahead of you today, walk into it knowing you are not walking in alone. And there is a coming in that matches this too. The coming in after a conflict, when the conversation is over and you're left to process how it went, whether it was resolved or whether it's still hanging in the air unfinished. I speak peace over your coming in after conflict today. Even if the outcome wasn't what you hoped for, even if the other person didn't respond the way you wanted them to, let your own heart find rest. You did what you could do. The rest is not yours to carry. Let's talk about going out into uncertainty, which might be one of the most common experiences many of you are walking through right now. Maybe you don't know what's going to happen with your job. Maybe you don't know how a medical situation is going to turn out. Maybe you don't know if a relationship is going to survive the season it's currently in. Going out into uncertainty is exhausting because there's no clear map, no guaranteed outcome, just one foot in front of the other without knowing exactly where the path leads. I declare covering over your going out into uncertainty today. You do not need to see the whole path to trust the one walking it with you. Your next step is covered even if the next 10 steps are still unclear. And there is a coming in that matches this too, the coming in of finally receiving an answer after a long season of not knowing. Maybe that answer is coming soon for some of you. Maybe you're still waiting. But when it does come, whether it's the answer you hoped for or a different one you'll have to process and grieve, I speak covering over that coming in too. Whatever the answer turns out to be, you will not receive it alone. God will be right there with you in that moment, just as much as he was with you through all the uncertain waiting that came before it. Let's talk about going out into responsibility, the moments where you have to show up and perform, lead, provide, or carry weight that other people are counting on you to carry. Maybe you're going into a meeting where you have to present something important. Maybe you're going into a day where you're the one responsible for holding your family together emotionally or financially. Maybe you're going into a role at work or at home where the pressure to get it right feels enormous. I speak strength over your going out into responsibility today. You were never meant to carry the full weight of what's required of you using only your own resources. The same God who called you into this role is the God equipping you to fulfill it. And there is a coming in that matches this too, the coming in after a day of carrying heavy responsibility, when you finally get to set it down, even for a few hours, and just exist without having to perform or provide or hold everything together. I speak rest over your coming in tonight. Permission to stop being the strong one for a little while. Permission to let your shoulders drop, your breathing slow down, your mind quiet, because the responsibility does not have to follow you through every single hour of your day. There is a time to carry it, and there is a time to set it down, and both are covered by the God who preserves your going out and your coming in. Let's talk about going out into a new day itself, because I don't want to overlook the most basic application of this promise. Every single morning, when your eyes open and you get out of bed, that is a going out. You are stepping out of the rest of the night and into the demands of a brand new day, a day you have never lived before, with challenges you cannot fully anticipate no matter how carefully you plan. I speak covering over every single morning you will ever wake up to. You do not have to face a new day with dread, wondering what it might bring. You can face it with confidence, knowing the same God who preserved your going out yesterday is preserving your going out today, and he will preserve it again tomorrow, and the day after that, for as long as you live. And there is a coming in that matches this too, the coming in of sleep itself, the moment you lay your head down at night and release control over everything you couldn't finish, couldn't fix, couldn't fully resolve today. I speak peaceful sleep over you tonight. Not restless, anxious tossing and turning, but real rest. The kind that comes from trusting your keeper does not need you awake in order to keep watching over your life. He that keepeth thee will not slumber, which means your own slumber is safe. You can close your eyes tonight because his stay open. I want to pray over you again, going deeper into these areas. Father, I thank you for covering the hard conversations ahead of us. Give wisdom in every difficult exchange today, restraint where it's needed, courage where truth needs to be spoken, gentleness where hearts are fragile. And after those conversations are finished, bring peace to every heart still processing how it went, whether the outcome was good or still unresolved. Lord, for everyone walking through uncertainty right now, not knowing how their situation will turn out. Cover their going out into the unknown. They don't need the whole path illuminated, just the next step, and I ask that you would make that next step clear enough to take in faith. When the answers finally come, whatever they turn out to be, meet them in that moment too, and help them process it with you right there beside them. For everyone carrying heavy responsibility today, whether at work, at home, or in ministry, strengthen them for what's required of them. Remind them they were never meant to carry it alone, using only their own resources. And when the day is done, Lord, let them truly set it down. Give them permission to rest without guilt, to stop performing, to just exist in your presence without having to hold everything together for a few hours. And Father, thank you for covering the most basic rhythm of our lives, the going out of every morning and the coming in of every night. Let us wake up with confidence instead of dread, and let us lay down to sleep with peace instead of anxiety, trusting that the same hand keeping watch over us during the day is the same hand keeping watch while we rest. I want to slow down now and take a closer look at the final phrase of this promise, because I think it carries more weight than we often give it credit for. From this time forth, and even forevermore. I want you to notice this is not a promise with a limit. It does not say from this time forth until circumstances change, until you make a mistake big enough to forfeit it, until you have a bad week that seems to disqualify you from God's care. From this time forth, and even forevermore. This covering began the moment you were formed, and it stretches out into forever, with no expiration date attached to it anywhere. I think some of you have been living as though this covering is conditional, as though it only applies when you're doing everything right, when your prayer life is consistent, when your faith feels strong, when you haven't recently messed up in some way that makes you feel unworthy of protection. I want to correct that thinking this morning. This promise was never rooted in your performance. It was rooted in God's character, and His character does not fluctuate based on how well you're doing on any given day. From this time forth, and even forevermore, includes your best days and your worst days. It includes the days you feel close to God and the days you feel distant from Him. It includes seasons of strong faith and seasons of doubt. The covering does not come and go based on you. It stays constant because He stays constant. I want to also address something that might be sitting quietly in some of your hearts this morning, a question about whether this promise is even really true, given everything you've walked through. Maybe you've had a going out that ended badly. Maybe you've had a coming in that brought devastating news instead of relief. Maybe you're wondering, if God really preserves going out and coming in, why did this specific thing happen to me or to someone I love? I don't want to brush past that question because it's an honest one, and honest questions deserve honest engagement, not empty platitudes. Here is what I believe Scripture teaches about this tension. This promise is not a guarantee that nothing painful will ever happen during your going out or your coming in. It is a promise that you are never facing those transitions unaccompanied, unseen, or ultimately undone by what happens in them. Preservation does not always mean prevention. Sometimes it means God carrying you through something difficult rather than stopping the difficulty from happening at all. Your soul, your core identity, your capacity to keep hoping and trusting and loving is what is being preserved even when the circumstances themselves are painful. This is not a smaller promise than the one that guarantees nothing bad will ever happen. In some ways, it is a deeper one because it holds up even in the middle of real loss, real grief, real hardship, rather than only working when life is going smoothly. If you have walked through a painful going out or a devastating coming in, I want to speak directly to you this morning. God was there. He did not look away. Whatever was preserved in you through that experience, your ability to still hope, your ability to still love, your ability to still get up and keep living even after something broke your heart, that preservation was real, even if the outcome you wanted wasn't the one you received. I am not asking you to pretend the pain wasn't real. I am inviting you to trust that even in the middle of that pain, you were not abandoned, and you are not abandoned now. I want to bring this promise into an even more practical space, because I believe the Word of God is meant to be lived, not just admired from a distance. Let's talk about how you can actually carry this truth with you through your specific day-to-day. whatever that day looks like for you. If you have a difficult meeting today, before you walk into that room, pause for even 10 seconds and say, "My going out is covered." Let that be a small, private declaration that resets your nervous system before you step into whatever is waiting for you. If you have a hard phone call to make, say it before you dial. "My going out is covered." If you're dropping your children off somewhere, whether it's school, a friend's house, an activity that makes you a little nervous, say it as they walk away from the car. "Your going out is covered." And build the same habit around your coming in. When you walk back through your front door tonight, whatever kind of day you've had, pause for a moment and say, "My coming in is covered." Let that door be a threshold where you consciously release whatever happened outside of it and step into a place of rest. When you receive news, good or bad, when you finish a hard conversation, when you complete a task you've been dreading, say it. "My coming in is covered." This kind of practice might feel small, even a little repetitive, but I want you to remember that the people who first sang this psalm sang it over and over again as they made their long journey up to Jerusalem. Repetition was not a sign of weak faith. It was a discipline that kept their hearts anchored through a long and sometimes dangerous road. Your life is a long road too, made up of countless goings out and comings in. And this psalm was given to you as a companion for that entire journey, not just a one-time encouragement to hear and forget. I want to speak now to those of you who feel like your life has been one long, exhausting going out without much coming in at all. People who feel like they're always giving, always showing up for everyone else, always stepping out to meet other people's needs, without ever getting to experience the rest and safety of coming in. If that's you this morning, I want to remind you that this promise includes your coming in too, not just your going out. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to stop being the one who always has to be strong, always has to be available, always has to be the one holding everything together. Somewhere in your life, there needs to be a place of coming in, a place where you get to set things down instead of constantly picking new things up. I pray that God would show you where that place is, or help you create it if it doesn't currently exist, because you were never meant to live a life made up only of going out. I want to speak now specifically to those of you facing a going out that terrifies you today, not a minor discomfort, but something genuinely frightening. Maybe it's a medical procedure. Maybe it's a court date. Maybe it's a conversation that could permanently change a relationship. Maybe it's the first day of something you've been dreading for months. This psalm was not written for people whose lives were easy and predictable. It was written by a man who understood real danger, real fear, real uncertainty about whether he would make it through the day safely. When he wrote about God preserving the going out, he wasn't imagining a leisurely walk to the market. He was thinking about roads with bandits on them, journeys with no guarantee of safe arrival, a world where danger was a real, tangible possibility rather than an abstract worry. So if your going out today carries real fear with it, I want you to know this promise is strong enough to hold that weight. It was never meant only for small, manageable transitions. It was meant for the going out that makes your stomach turn, the going out you would avoid entirely if you had any choice in the matter. Whatever that going out is for you this morning, I speak the same covering over it that God spoke over the ancient traveler heading into unknown and dangerous territory. You are not walking into it alone, and you are not walking into it unwatched. And I want to speak to those of you anticipating a coming in that you're afraid of too, not the comforting kind of homecoming, but a return that might bring bad news, difficult results, a confrontation you can't avoid any longer. Maybe you're coming in from a doctor's appointment, waiting to hear results that could change everything. Maybe you're coming in from a meeting where you'll find out if you still have a job. Maybe you're coming into a conversation you've been putting off because you're afraid of how the other person will respond. I speak covering over that coming in too. Whatever you're walking back into, whatever news is waiting for you, you will not receive it alone. God will be standing right there in that moment with you, ready to strengthen you no matter what the news turns out to be. I want to widen this promise one more time before we move toward closing, because I believe this psalm was never meant to apply only to individual days or individual transitions. It was meant to apply to the entire arc of a person's life. Think about the biggest goings out and comings in you will ever experience across your whole lifetime. The going out of leaving childhood behind and stepping into adulthood. The going out of leaving your parents' home and starting your own life. For some of you, the going out of a marriage beginning, and for others, the going out of a marriage ending. The going out of becoming a parent yourself, stepping into a role you can never fully prepare for no matter how many books you read or how much advice you receive. The going out of retirement, leaving behind decades of identity built around a career. And ultimately, for every single one of us, the going out of this life itself, and the coming in to whatever comes after. I believe this psalm covers every single one of these transitions, not just the small daily ones we've spent most of our time talking about this morning. From this time forth, and even forevermore, is not a promise limited to today's schedule. It is a promise that stretches across the entire span of your life, covering every major threshold you will ever cross, all the way to the final one. If you are facing one of these larger transitions right now, a major life change, a significant ending, a significant beginning, I want you to receive this promise at that scale too. Whatever season of your life you are going out of, and whatever season you are coming into, God has already gone ahead to prepare the way, and He will be there to meet you on the other side. Let me pray over you once more, this time addressing the fears and the bigger transitions we've just talked about. Father, for everyone facing a going out that genuinely terrifies them today, whether it's a medical appointment, a difficult meeting, a hard conversation, or something else entirely, I ask that you would go before them into that place. Calm their hearts before they even arrive. Give them courage that doesn't depend on the situation being easy, but on your presence being real and near. And for everyone anticipating a coming in they're afraid of, waiting for results, waiting for news, waiting for an outcome they can't control, meet them in that exact moment, whatever it turns out to be, and let them know they are not facing it alone. Lord, for anyone in the middle of a major life transition right now, a marriage beginning or ending, a new season of parenthood, a career shift, a move, an ending they didn't choose, I ask that you would cover that transition with the same faithfulness you've shown throughout every smaller going out and coming in of their lives. Let them trust that the God who has preserved them through every ordinary day is more than capable of preserving them through the extraordinary ones too. And Father, thank you that this promise does not expire. From this time forth, and even forevermore, means it covers today, and it covers every day still ahead, all the way to the very end of this life, and beyond it into whatever comes next. Let that truth settle every anxious thought this morning, and let it be the foundation these listeners stand on, not just for today, but for the rest of their lives. I want to take you back to the beginning of this psalm one more time before we start moving toward a close, because I think the opening verse and the closing verse actually work together in a way that's worth pointing out. The psalm starts with lifting up your eyes, a deliberate choice to redirect your gaze away from the problem and toward the source of your help. And it ends with going out and coming in, the practical, everyday movements of your life. I think the order matters here. Before you can walk confidently through your goings out and comings in, you first have to make that decision to lift your eyes. The two are connected. Your daily movements are covered because your gaze has already been set on the right source. This means the practice of lifting your eyes is not a one-time event you do once and then move on from. It's a daily reset, maybe even an hourly one on hard days, where you consciously choose again to look toward the hills, toward the maker of heaven and earth, before you step into whatever your going out requires of you. I want to encourage you to build this into your actual daily rhythm, not as another task on your to-do list, but as a grounding practice that changes how you experience every threshold you cross. Let's talk practically about what this could look like. In the morning, before your feet even hit the floor, you could take 30 seconds to lift your eyes, literally or figuratively, and remind yourself where your help comes from. Before you walk out your front door, you could pause at the threshold itself and speak this promise over your day. My going out is preserved. When you're driving somewhere that makes you nervous, you could use the time in the car to quietly repeat these verses to yourself instead of letting your mind spiral into worst-case scenarios. When you're waiting for news, waiting for an answer, waiting for a coming in that you don't know the shape of yet. You could return to this psalm as an anchor, something familiar to hold on to while everything else feels uncertain. I also want to talk about how this promise applies to seasons, not just single days, because some of you are not just walking through a hard morning, you're walking through a hard year, maybe even several hard years strung together. If that's you, I want you to know this promise was not written with only short-term application in mind. From this time forth, and even forevermore, was always meant to cover long seasons just as much as single days. If you are in a season that has felt like one long, exhausting going out, without much rest, without much relief, I want you to receive this promise over that entire season, not just over today. God has been preserving your going out throughout this whole difficult stretch, even the parts that felt unbearable, even the days you weren't sure you would make it through. And if you sense a season of coming in approaching, a season of rest after a long period of labor, a season of harvest after a long period of planting and waiting, I want to encourage you to receive that too, without guilt, without feeling like you have to immediately rush back out into more striving the moment relief arrives. Seasons of coming in are just as sacred, just as ordained by God, as seasons of going out. Rest is not a departure from faithfulness. It is often the very fruit of it. I want to speak now to anyone who has been struggling to trust this promise at all. Maybe because life has taught you that safety isn't guaranteed, that bad things happen even to people who pray, that trusting too fully in protection sometimes sets you up for disappointment when things don't go the way you hoped. I don't want to dismiss that struggle this morning. It's a real one, and many faithful people throughout history have wrestled with exactly this tension between what Scripture promises and what their own experience has shown them. Here is what I would offer you in the middle of that struggle. Trust does not require the absence of fear or doubt. You can hold this promise with trembling hands and still be holding it in faith. You can say, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief," the way a man in the Gospels once cried out to Jesus, and that prayer is not a lesser form of faith. It might actually be one of the most honest, most human expressions of faith available to us, because it holds both trust and struggle together without pretending either one away. If you're in that place this morning, holding this promise with shaky hands, still not entirely sure you believe it the way you wish you did, I want you to know that's enough. You don't have to have perfect confidence for God to still be faithfully preserving your going out and your coming in. His faithfulness was never dependent on the strength of your belief in the first place. It rests on his own unchanging character, which holds steady whether your faith feels strong today or weak. Let me pray for those of you in that specific place this morning. Father, for everyone who is struggling to fully trust this promise, whether because of past disappointment, past loss, or simply the honest difficulty of believing what we cannot see, I ask that you would meet them exactly where they are. I don't ask that you remove their doubt entirely, but that you would work alongside it, the way you worked with the man who cried out, "I believe, help my unbelief." Let their trembling faith still be received by you as real faith, not lesser faith. And Lord, over time, let their experience of your faithfulness slowly rebuild what past pain has worn down, not through pressure or striving, but through your patient, steady presence in the ordinary goings out and comings in of their everyday lives. I want to close this out now by widening the lens one final time, because I believe this psalm has something to say not just to individuals but to families, to communities, to entire generations. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. This was never meant to be a promise that isolated one person from the community around them. It was written into the life of an entire nation, a people bound together by covenant, walking through history together, generation after generation. And this same preserving hand rested over all of them collectively, not just each one individually. I want you to think about your own family in this light. Whatever generational patterns you're trying to break, whatever cycles of fear, addiction, poverty, or dysfunction have followed your family line for years, I declare over your household this morning that the Lord who preserves your going out and your coming in is also preserving the going out and coming in of your children and their children after them. You are not just praying for your own protection today. You are establishing a covering that has the potential to extend beyond your own lifetime, into the lives of people you may never even meet, generations down the line who will benefit from the faithfulness you are choosing to walk in right now. If you are the first person in your family to really take hold of this kind of faith, I want to honor that this morning. It is not easy to be the one who breaks a pattern, who chooses trust where fear used to live, who decides that this generation will walk differently than the ones before it did. But I want to encourage you, you're going out into this new way of living. This new way of trusting God with your daily life is covered. And the coming in of your children into a household marked by faith instead of fear, by peace instead of anxiety, is being shaped even now by the choices you're making today. I also want to speak a blessing over the community around you, whoever that includes, your church, your workplace, your neighborhood, your circle of friends. Just as this psalm covered the whole nation of Israel, and not just isolated individuals, I believe it covers the communities you are part of too. I speak preservation over the going out and coming in of everyone connected to you, the people you worship with, the people you work alongside, the people who live near you and share life with you in ways big and small. May this covering extend outward from you like ripples, touching lives you may not even realize are being affected by the faith you're choosing to walk in. I want to spend a little more time here before we close, because I think there's something important about how this promise interacts with the ordinary, unremarkable parts of your life, not just the dramatic transitions we've spent most of this time talking about. So much of your going out and coming in is not dramatic at all. It's mundane. It's the trip to the grocery store. It's picking up the dry cleaning. It's walking the dog around the block. It's driving to a job you've done 1,000 times before. I don't want you to think this promise only applies to the big, obvious moments of risk and uncertainty. It applies to every single one of these small, repetitive movements too, the ones so ordinary you barely notice you're even making a transition at all. I think this matters because so much of our anxiety, when we're honest about it, doesn't come from the rare, dramatic crisis. It comes from the accumulation of 1,000 small, unacknowledged worries stacked on top of each other throughout an ordinary day. The worry about whether you'll make it to your appointment on time. The worry about running into someone you'd rather avoid at the store. The worry about whether your car will start, whether the weather will cooperate, whether the small errand you're running will somehow go sideways the way small things sometimes do. I speak covering over every one of these small, ordinary movements today. Your trip to the store is preserved. Your errand across town is preserved. Your walk around the block is preserved. God's attention to your life is not reserved only for the big, headline moments. It extends into every small, forgettable transition too. I want to also acknowledge that some of you are in seasons where even the smallest going out feels enormous, because of illness, because of grief, because of anxiety that has grown so large it makes ordinary tasks feel like climbing a mountain. If getting out of bed and getting dressed feels like a genuine accomplishment for you right now, I don't want you to feel like this promise is only for people whose lives look more put together than yours does today. This promise covers your going out, even when that going out is as small as walking from your bedroom to your kitchen. It covers your coming in even when that coming in is simply making it back to your bed after a hard day of just existing. God's preservation is not measured by the size of the transition. It's present in every single one, no matter how small it might look from the outside. I want to offer one more layer of encouragement before we move toward our final close, specifically for those of you who are in caregiving roles, whether for children, for aging parents, for a spouse who is struggling, or for anyone else who depends on you for their daily needs. Your going out today might not be about your own transitions at all. It might be entirely wrapped up in getting someone else safely to an appointment, safely through a difficult day, safely settled for the night. I speak covering over your going out on behalf of someone else today. And I speak covering over your coming in too, the moment you finally get a break, finally get to breathe, finally get a few minutes that belong only to you. Caregiving can feel like an endless cycle of going out without much coming in at all, always giving, always available, always on call for someone else's needs. If that's the season you're in right now, I want you to know God sees the weight of that. And He is not only preserving the person you're caring for, He is preserving you too, your strength, your patience, your capacity to keep showing up day after day for someone who needs you. You are not invisible in this. You're going out, and you're coming in matter to Him just as much as anyone else's. Let me offer one final prayer specifically over the ordinary, the small, and the caregiving moments we've just talked about. Father, thank you that your preservation is not reserved only for dramatic moments. Cover every small, ordinary transition today, every errand, every short trip, every unremarkable movement through the day that we barely think to pray about. For anyone for whom even the smallest going out feels enormous right now, because of illness, grief, or overwhelming anxiety, meet them in that smallness. Let them know your care is not measured by how big the transition looks from the outside. And Lord, for every caregiver listening this morning, the ones spending themselves for someone else's needs day after day, cover their going out on behalf of those they love, and cover their coming in, especially the rare moments of rest they manage to find. Strengthen them for the long road of caregiving, and remind them that they too are being watched over, kept, and preserved, even in a season where they're used to being the one doing all the watching, keeping, and preserving for someone else. Now I want to bring us to a close with a final extended declaration, one you can return to again and again, whenever you need to remind yourself of what has been spoken over your life this morning. The Lord is your keeper. He does not slumber, and He does not sleep. He will not allow your foot to be moved, no matter how unstable the ground beneath you feels right now. He is your shade at your right hand, positioned exactly where the pressure of your day is heaviest. The sun will not smite you during the visible, obvious struggles of daylight, and the moon will not smite you during the hidden, quiet struggles of the night. He preserves you from all evil, seen and unseen, and He preserves your soul, the deepest part of who you are, keeping it intact even when circumstances try to break it. You're going out today, whatever it holds, a hard conversation, an uncertain outcome, a new beginning, a difficult ending, is preserved. You're coming in today, whatever it brings, rest, relief, disappointment, or simply the quiet end of an ordinary day, is preserved too. This covering is not new. It has been over your life since before you can even remember, and it is not temporary. It stretches from this time forth, and even forevermore, covering not just today, not just this season, but the entire span of your life, every threshold you will ever cross, every ending and every beginning, all the way to the very last one. You do not have to face this day or any day after it, carrying the full weight of your own protection. You have a keeper who has never once slumbered on your behalf, and He is not going to start today. Before I let you go this morning, I want to give you something to carry beyond just the feeling of this moment, something to actually hold on to with your hands and your voice, not just your emotions. I want you to say this out loud, right now, wherever you are, even if it's just above a whisper. The Lord shall preserve my going out and my coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. Say it again. The Lord shall preserve my going out and my coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. Let your own voice speaking this truth become part of how it takes root in you, not just something you heard someone else say, but something you have now declared with your own mouth over your own life. I want you to return to this declaration throughout your day today. When you walk out your door this morning, say it. When you walk back in tonight, say it again. When fear tries to rise up in the middle of your day, whether it's a small, anxious thought or a genuine crisis, return to these words. They are not just poetic language written thousands of years ago by someone whose life looked nothing like yours. They are a living promise, given by a God who does not change, spoken over a people He has never once abandoned, and now spoken over you. Today, in whatever situation you find yourself walking through, you were never meant to carry the weight of your own protection. You were never meant to be your own keeper, staying eternally vigilant, never resting, never letting your guard down, because the responsibility of watching over your entire life rested solely on your own shoulders. That was never the design. From the very beginning, God positioned Himself as the one who watches, the one who keeps, the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps, so that you could actually live your life, actually rest at night, actually walk out your door in the morning without dread weighing down every step. So walk out today knowing you are covered. Walk back in tonight knowing you are covered. And tomorrow, when you wake up and do it all again, know that the same covering that was over you today will be over you then too, and the day after that, and every day after that, for as long as you live, and even beyond this life into whatever comes next. Lift up your eyes. Your help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. Walk out into today knowing that. Walk back in tonight trusting that same truth. From this time forth, and even forevermore, you are kept. Amen.